unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live boxing ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live. What a terrible weekend of boxing. I'm actually angry again, a second day in a row. If you follow my channel, you'll know why I was angry last night. But guess what? Yup, we back. I'm angry again because I just watched the Canelo versus Scull. I'm gonna call him Scull. Y'all keep switching his name, saying he's Scull. Nobody got schooled, so I'm gonna call him Cassius. I'm gonna call him Scull. That's who he is to me. Terrible main event, horrific card. My goodness. Let me just start off by saying that Turkey has back-to-back ring. Turkey, Riyadh season, just put up back-to-back duds. Double wood. From the Ryan Garcia Rolly card and the Devin Haney fight with Ramirez to the main event here, Canelo Scull, I did not enjoy a single fight on the card. If I had to pick, I guess it would be F.A. Ajagba, Martin Bakole out of the whole run. And then I guess I would have to say Tio Barbosa. But I didn't really enjoy that fight. It was very one-sided and flat performance by Barbosa. So that's that. I'm going to let you know in this video, Canelo Scull, what really happened. What really happened is the fight wasted my time. They put this fight in Saudi Arabia and nothing feels the same. Let's just be real. You have Canelo, a Mexican who made his name in America, made most of his coin in America, and has went on to do big events in America. You pull him from a potential Jake Paul fight to put him in this, and it did not deliver. The crowd looked sparse. There wasn't many people there. It didn't feel like the Mexican dates or Mexican holiday. It didn't feel like Cinco de Mayo. They have a building with 5,000 to 6,000 people who look like and sounded like they could care less to be there. It was not fun. It was not fun. Then you get to the main event, right? Because I don't even want to do this video. That's how mad I am. But I'm here, so let's go. Canelo versus Scull. I don't know if it's the kingdom, if it's the time zone difference, or whatever. Canelo did not look good in this fight. I don't care what anybody says. I normally give you guys the good, the bad, and the ugly. I literally didn't see much good. The fight was boring. The fight, they just set a historic record of the fewest punches thrown or landed in a 12-round fight, factually. So that is not a record you want to set in boxing, right? Where you have a career lowest amount of punches. And they had back-to-back fights. They have 3 fights in 2 days that hit top 5 on the lowest, fewest amount of punches for a 12-rounder. Devin Haney, Ramirez, Rolly and Ryan Garcia fight. And in the other main event, Canelo versus Scull. So that means they're not engaging or they can't hit their opponent or whatever. For whatever reason, in each fight, they combine for the fewest punches ever thrown in a 12-round fight. That is not the history that you want to make. So just by CompuBox and by that statistic, it shows you what type of fight it was. So for William Scull, he did the same thing throughout the fight. He used a lot of legs. He used his size, and he was just moving a lot. Moving. But then he would take little small stands and he would bop. And occasionally he was catching Canelo, right? But then he would pick up the movement, and it was kind of like almost like playing tag, right? So he just move, bop, not get greedy. And it was frustrating because if he had more spite and more dog in him, it looked like he really could have did some things with Canelo to the point where he won the fight, right? Because I'm telling you, Canelo did not look good. And now we get to the bad and the ugly. Canelo didn't look good. That's the bad and the ugly. He looked pretty flat. He looked like a minimalist, not in a good way. Like at your household, I don't think it's a bad thing to be a minimalist. You have not too much clutter. But in boxing, you don't want to be a minimalist, meaning you're doing the bare minimum, because certain fights require a bit more. Canelo is close to 70 fights in his career. He's been fighting since age 15. I don't know if he's tired of it. I don't know if he's just made so much money. I don't know if it's father time, or maybe even a combination of all these things. He's domesticated with the family and the wife now, whatever. He just does not look the same. For whatever category or reason you want to give for it, he does not look the same. Previously, and I told you this, Terrence Crawford, to me, is a more skilled fighter, more complete fighter. I did not like Crawford Canelo because of the weight. I told you, if Bud was fighting Canelo back when he was at 54, I would pick Bud Crawford all day. That was my initial thoughts when they were talking about the idea of the fight. Because for me, weight matters. You know, some people say, oh, weight doesn't matter. It matters, right? You have to fight bigger guys a certain type of way, not get hit with huge shots, things like that. So my initial impressions of Canelo versus Crawford were very different than what I'm about to say now. So it was solely based on weight. I told you Crawford is the better fighter, and had it been at a more, even a catch weight of like 160 or 58 or something, I would always have picked Crawford. However, they said 168 with no rehydration clause. Terrence Crawford was in the building in Saudi Arabia. They even did a face-off post-fight. I'm here to tell you now, I think I have to change my prediction. I didn't really give an official prediction, but for lack of a better word, my thoughts. The way Canelo looked, I gotta pick Crawford. I gotta pick Crawford. Now, don't hold me to that, because it's subject to change between now and September when they fight. But from what I'm seeing, that version of Canelo, Crawford can certainly beat, because Canelo looks washed. He looks washed. Now, I knew there was some regression. I knew there was some deterioration in Canelo's game. Some of the things he did early in his career where he looked more dynamic, it has all but stopped, right? You see sparkles of it or little glimpses of it. But even with that being said, I knew Canelo had slowed down, right? I knew this. I've said it in my videos. But I'm talking about from the Jaime Munguia performance, the Jermell Charlo performance, and the Edgar Berlanga performance, he looked substantially older and more washed than those fights, some of which just took place last year. So I gotta rock with Bud. Canelo looked too horrible versus Scull. And I literally said this, to my credit. I said, let me see how Canelo looks versus Scull, and that might give me a better indication of the Crawford-Canelo fight in September. Because Terrence is not doing a tune-up fight for whatever reason, which I don't think is the greatest idea. But the way Canelo performed and looked, I think Crawford might even be the favorite. He looked that bad. Like I said, the version that fought Munguia and Berlanga and John Ryder and guys like that, I knew that wasn't the Canelo of old that fought Triple G, the Canelo that fought even maybe a Danny Jacobs, right? But he looked like an even worse version with William Scull. Now, the ugly, DAZN commentary is bloody awful. It is horrible, probably the worst in boxing. The way they were glazing Canelo Alvarez was next level. Canelo really wasn't even doing much in the course of 12 rounds, he didn't do much. He did not look good. Take my word for it. Believe DAZN if you want. I'm giving you real boxing dialogue. He did not look good. The movement of Scull, the frame of Scull, and Scull occasionally letting his hands go was enough of a combination to have Canelo looking stupid in there, right? The foot speed was far superior. Canelo wasn't cutting off the ring. He was lazy. That's why I keep saying minimalist. He was being very lazy. Like he was following Scull. He wasn't jabbing his way in. And if this is how Canelo is been reduced to, or what he's been reduced to, I don't see him beating Crawford because he looked that bad to me. And the bad thing is DAZN is such a horrible commentary crew. They were like getting all mad at Scull, right? And my thoughts, maybe I'm just on my own, unpopular opinion, but my thing is this. You keep complaining about the same thing. The guy is moving. At some point, the guy with close to 70 fights, that's a veteran, that's a superstar in Canelo Alvarez, he has enough experience where he should know how to get that done. So I really have no remorse for Canelo Alvarez. Another thing that they failed to mention is nobody wanted to see this fight. Nobody knew who William Scull was. Turkey and Canelo chose to do this. There were other options for Canelo, like Jake Paul on Netflix. And I said this and some people got mad. Oh man, that's a fake fight, a circus fight. Well, guess what? I would have truly rather watch in Las Vegas, Jake Paul versus Canelo rather than that. Because first of all, Jake Paul would be bigger than Canelo. And I'm not saying he's more skilled, but I've never seen Jake Paul fight like William Scull. I don't even think that's like in his DNA to move for 12 rounds incessantly. I've never seen him do it. I don't think he has the cardio to really do that, right? So yeah, I think it would have been a better event, a bigger event. It would have made more noise, which is good for the sport of boxing, to have an occasional novelty fight. Now, I don't want every fight to be a circus novelty fight, but having a couple per year, no biggie, right? And when I said this, people acted like I spoke a foreign language, like they didn't understand what I was saying. Now, do you see what I'm saying? The Canelo versus Scull was a terrible fight to watch. Like, I almost wanted to rip my eyes out rather than continue watching it. So yeah, I firmly believe Canelo Jake Paul would have been a bigger and better event. But here's another thing. It didn't have to be Jake Paul. If you're more on the side of I don't like novelty fights and I don't think that would be good, it's a gimmick, it hurts boxing, fine. Canelo should have fought David Benavidez. And here's the thing. The commentators keep crying that Scull is moving all day. Guess what? Guess who doesn't move all day? David Benavidez. So I have no compassion. I have a lack of mercy, no remorse, no apologies for Canelo Alvarez when it comes to Scull. Nobody wanted this fight. But Turkey and Canelo, he pulled him from the Jake Paul fight and stopped him from doing the Netflix deal with Jake Paul. He chose to make excuses not to fight David Benavidez. And then you try to use this little trinket fight because Scull had the IBF, right? And you're like, oh, this will make the Crawford-Canelo fight bigger if Canelo becomes undisputed again. Canelo had undisputed and lost it because he didn't want to fight William Scull, probably for that reason, because he struggles with movers, right? He fought another Cuban earlier in his career at Islandilata, and he looked bad in that fight. These guys with foot speed just give Canelo issues. Floyd had foot speed. Lara had foot speed. Dimitri Bivol had foot speed. So this proves to me what I've been telling you, what Gervonta Davis been telling you. Turkey might love the sport of boxing. He has money to get them some things done, but he doesn't understand the sport of boxing. Because if you understand the sport of boxing and your goal was to have Crawford in attendance with Canelo and then do a face-off and announce their September fight. You don't put Canelo in there with a guy like William Scull, because that's going to hurt. It's going to hurt the need to see Crawford versus Canelo. When you see Canelo struggle like that, you would have been better off. I'm not even being funny. You would have been better off convincing Crawford to fight William Scull, right? And then Crawford tried to get that IBF belt rather than Canelo, because Crawford is more dynamic and he has better foot speed, and he's a faster reactor and thinker than Canelo Alvarez, right? So that was always a bad style matchup. So DAZN kept crying that Scull was moving. At some point, the fighter with all that experience that Canelo has, he got to get over that and figure out a way to stop the movement. The thing he was doing was the body attack, which could have been stronger. He could have upped the body attack, upped the presence, upped the pressure. Jab, he wasn't jabbing. So to me, this fight exposed Canelo. His flaws have always been there, but now with Father Time or whatever has caused this and the wear and tear in his body, he's like a golfer that boxes now. You know what I mean? He don't look like the same fighter at all. So I really don't even want to see the Crawford fight with Canelo, but they announced it, so it's too late. So, you know, ultimately it don't matter what I think there. But the performance was really that bad. And you could tell that the DAZN commentators, they were getting angry, probably because they knew what was on the line with the Terrence Crawford fight. And they were seeing how Canelo was not looking good. And they were trying so hard. And this is the ugly part, the dark side of boxing. They were trying so hard to glaze Canelo when he really wasn't looking good. And they're like, oh, see, he landed a body shot. Bro, he landed one shot. When William Scull was doing anything offensively, they were undermining it or weren't saying anything about it, right? They were acting like it was just Canelo throwing punches. Neither one of them was landing a whole lot, but they were acting like Canelo was doing great. He was doing terrible to me. William Scull was doing terrible for a different reason, because he was non-committal and he was fighting like amateurishly. So yeah, it did get to a point where you're not going to beat a superstar like this for undisputed. There's no way in Saudi Arabia, and it would get in the way of the Canelo Crawford fight. They're not going to give you the fight like that. But what do you expect from an inexperienced guy? You got an inexperienced guy. He did the best he could do, and that was the strategy and the game plan that he came up with. You should have seen tape on William Scull. He always fights like that. He's not the biggest puncher, and he's from the Cuban school, so he always fights like that. So I blame, more than I blame Scull, I blame Turkey, Ring, and Canelo for agreeing to this, because you made this fight knowing he was going to fight like this. And if you watch Canelo enough, you would know that Canelo struggles with this. So this was really a lose-lose situation unless Canelo looked better somehow and was able to stop him. But he wasn't. He wasn't able to drop, hurt, or stop Scull. Canelo has not been able to knock anybody out for a minute. So if Terrence Crawford was ringside, I would love my chances if I'm a Terrence Crawford. If I watch that ringside, because Canelo looked pretty bad, I'm telling you. And again, take my word for it. I have no reason to lie. DAZN does. DAZN was out here trying to be biased and make it look like Canelo was doing all this stuff. Canelo was fighting lazy. He was very economical. The foot speed was bothering him. He wasn't cutting off the ring. He wasn't jabbing. He just didn't look good. And he was even getting frustrated. There were moments late in the fight where he kind of like picked up Scull and looked like he wanted to throw him. And then Scull had his back turned and he tried to sucker punch him with a hook. You know, just little dirty tactics out of frustration. Post-fight, he knew, Canelo must have known he looked terrible, because he went to embrace, Scull went to embrace him, and he just looked like disappointed, like, man, why didn't you sit there and fight me? And again, you guys got to understand, this boxing, it's a strategy game. You're going to have different people do whatever. You still got to find a way to combat whatever you're up against. Like, people always say, oh, this guy ran. He's a runner. What do you have for that then? You have to know, like this person, there's a chance he runs. Even with Devin Haney, like, okay, he's stinking up the joint. He is moving a lot versus Jose Ramirez. But then you have to blame Jose Ramirez as well because he's not capitalizing. He's not bull rushing him. He's not fighting like Maidana. He's not fighting with no urgency or intensity. Like, let me stop this. Or this dude's scared of my power. You know what I mean? So it takes two to tango, but it's also both people's fault. Now, you can't fault Canelo or whoever for the way a person fights. You're not in charge of their style. But what you can be faulted for is not knowing how to deal with the various styles. If you're a complete fighter, you figure out a way. Some guys have power and they're going to come towards you. Some guys have power and they're going to flee and be counterpunchers. Like Tank is a boxer puncher, counterpuncher with a lot of power. But then Ruslan Provodnikov, he's coming to get you and wake you up out of bed with that power, right? Some guys have no power and they're looking to stink up the joint, move a lot, irritate you, frustrate you, outpoint you, amateur, you know what I mean? So it's just standard boxing stuff. Canelo got way too many fights to have these excuses each time. Like earlier in his career with Erislandy Lara, fine. Maybe you didn't know how to deal with that style good and cleanly then, but you're like so many fights deeper than the Lara fight and you have no improvement. That's a you problem. You should know how to deal with these Cubans or these movers or whatever, guys who are in survival mode. Because I tell you this, if you would have put David Benavidez versus William Scull, David Benavidez mess around, stop William Scull, or at least drop him and hurt him. I put that on. So styles make fights. David Benavidez is not going for that, bro. I promise you. So we're seeing in real time a real life regression, and there's still, like, it was actually Canelo's performance and Skull's performance was so bad. The fight was so bad. It was actually embarrassing that Turkey got both of them in the ring, Canelo and Terrence Crawford, and said, oh, this $1 million belt, clean up the ring. We got these belts, and then we're doing a face-off. It was embarrassing because it felt so out of place. Like, it's just like, it's like celebrating when you just got knocked out or something, having an after party. It's like, all right, you having an after party, you just got knocked out. Like, imagine Dominic Brazil having an after party after fighting Wilder. I mean, it just seemed weird. And based on how lackluster and terrible the Canelo Skull fight was, it didn't, even though you had Crawford there, it didn't seem like the right time to announce that fight, right? In that fashion. You know, for me, I would have even did it the next day, anything, but just to let people like sit with what they just watched. So the timing literally looked kind of bad to me, but it is what it is. Crawford is fighting Canelo. I'm picking Crawford. Unless something changes, I'm picking Crawford. Canelo looked too horrible. His feet are too slow. I always told you that. He has cement feet, but I truly thought he had a bit more. Bud looked bigger than Canelo anyway, right? And Bud still got, even though he's older, he still got footwork. So as long as he could take a shot, not get hit with anything too crazy, Bud probably got longer arms. He's more athletic. He got a crazy jab. If anything, I feel like Bud can take and implement a lot of strategies from Skull, but just build on it. Instead of fighting that negative, do more offense and offensively, and Bud would be cool. You know what I mean? But I was not impressed with the card nor the main event. And that's what really happened. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new, but even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate, so ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast.